Chapter 8. Pure Monopoly. Pure monopoly has the following characteristics. There is only one supplier, the sole producer of a specific product. There are no close substitutes. The product is unique. The firm has considerable control over price, a price maker, because it controls the total quantity supplied. There is no immediate competition because there are barriers to entry. Those barriers may be economic. Economies of scale create natural monopolies, technological, legal, or of some other type. Examples of monopoly are a local telephone company, a local gas and electric company, a small-town gas station. Because monopoly is the only supplier, the monopoly demand is the market demand. Because market demand slopes downward, in order for a monopolist to increase sales, it must lower its price. If the monopolist increases output by one more unit, the price charged for all units sold will fall. Each additional unit of output sold increases total revenue by an amount equal to its own price, less the sum of the price cuts that apply to all price units of output. Consequently, marginal revenue is less than price for every level of output except the first. Consider an example of a monopolist that is selling 3 units at a price of $142 per unit. To sell more, say 4 units, the price must be lowered to $132 per unit for all units. All customers must pay the same price. The increase in total revenue is thus $132 for the 4th unit minus 3 times 10 for the other 3 units. This gain and loss are represented by blue and red rectangles respectively on the graph. We computed that the increase in total revenue from an increase in sales from 3 to 4 units is $132 minus 3 times $10, which equals $102. This is thus the marginal revenue from increasing the sales from 3 to 4 units. We can repeat the procedure to get other points on the marginal revenue curve. Note that because with each increase in quantity, price on units previously sold has to fall, the marginal revenue curve will always be below the demand curve. How does a monopolist maximize its profit? Each output is associated with a unique price. By changing the market output, a monopolist is indirectly determining the market price. To determine the price-quantity combination that will maximize profit, cost data is needed. A monopolist will employ the MR equals MC rule in order to maximize profit. That is, it will produce a level of output where MR equals MC. This determines the profit-maximizing output, QM. Price, PM, is determined by the market demand curve. Let's continue with our example. Suppose that for each quantity the price is given by the demand curve, $162 for 1 unit, $152 for 2, $142 for 3, etc. We can compute total revenue by multiplying price by quantity. Taking the difference between the total revenue for each quantity and the total revenue for a previous quantity, we obtain marginal revenue. Now suppose average total cost is given as $190 for 1 unit, $135 for 2 units, etc. We can multiply it by quantity to obtain total cost, and use it to compute marginal cost. Now let's find where marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost, at 5 units of output. We can verify by explicitly computing profits that the profit is indeed the highest at the quantity equal to 5 units. Now let's plot all of this on the graph. Demand is given by the green line, and the marginal revenue is below it. Marginal cost has a U-shape. It intersects average total cost at average total cost's minimum. Marginal cost curve intersects the marginal revenue curve at quantity equal to 5. We now use the demand curve to see that at a quantity of 5, price is $122, and average cost is $94. Thus, the profit is represented by the green rectangle and is equal to $122 minus $94 times 5, $140. Let's now review some misconceptions people have about monopoly. We have seen that a monopolist will not charge the highest possible price. The highest price possible is not ideal because it results in lower output and reduces total revenue. The monopolist seeks to maximize total profit, not unit profit. A monopolist may suffer from weak demand, bad market conditions, or resource cost increases, and thus experience short-term losses. However, compared to pure competition, a monopoly lacks productive efficiency and allocative efficiency. Therefore, it is said to be inefficient compared to pure competitions in which price equals marginal cost equals minimum ATC. A monopolist charges a higher price and sells a smaller level of output than firms in a purely competitive industry. Monopoly price exceeds marginal cost and also exceeds average total cost. Graphically, in a purely competitive, efficient market, price is equal to marginal cost and to minimum average cost. In a pure monopoly, quantity is lower and price is higher than in pure competition. The price is above marginal cost and is higher than the average total cost. There are other ways in which monopoly is inefficient. Monopoly increases income inequality because monopoly profits are not equally distributed. Monopolists levy a private tax on consumers by transferring income from consumers to shareholders who own the monopoly. Cost may be different in monopoly and pure competition because economies of scale may make monopoly's costs lower. X inefficiency or prices higher than ATC allow for various cost increases. Rent-seeking expenditures are required to maintain barriers to entry, and because a monopolist can afford to lag in technological advances. Some monopolies engage in price discrimination, which is the business practice of selling the same good at different prices to different consumers when the price differences are not justified by differences in cost. In order to engage in price discrimination, the firm must have monopoly power, must be able to segregate the market into different groups, and must be able to prevent resale of the product. Price discrimination allows monopoly to increase its profits. Monopoly is not widespread because barriers to entry are seldom completely successful. If the monopoly appears to be unstable over a long period of time, say because of emerging new technology, society can simply choose to ignore it. In contrast, the government may want to file charges against a monopoly under the antitrust laws if the monopoly was achieved through anti-competitive actions, if it creates substantial economic inefficiency, and if it appears to be long-lasting. In the U.S., the antitrust law is the Sherman Act of 1890, which has two main provisions. Section 1. Every contract, combination, in the form of a trust or otherwise, or conspiracy in restraint of trade or commerce among the several states or with foreign nations is declared to be illegal. Section 2. Every person who shall monopolize or attempt to monopolize or combine or conspire with any person or persons to monopolize any part of the trade or commerce among the several states or with foreign nations shall be deemed guilty of a felony, as later amended from misdemeanor. The U.S. Department of Justice enforces the antitrust law.